are back, but just I could not start the show without officially playing our intro music.
I'm just thinking that it's only been 5 days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 5 days. I did not forget to play that intro music. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We are back with another amazing episode of the Closing Table, and I want to thank everybody that's tuned in right now. Definitely to the originals and the consistent ones that are out there. Definitely the ones in the chat right now. Good morning, Dolores. It's great to see you back. B. Walker, as always. Love to have you in here. You make the chat very, very interesting every show, and I would hate to have to do the show without your commentation. so, so with that being said, again, welcome to the Closing Table. I'm James Garman.
This is Daniel White. I'm ready to go.
Yes, back at it. Episode number 49. America Finally Hits Back is the title of this show, and we're gonna have some interesting conversation. I think this is gonna be it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be a good one. And again, I don't know how to express this more. Please jump in the comment section. Please jump in there. Give us some feedback on what we're talking about. Don't be afraid to say something. If you have something to add to this conversation, please, by all means, jump in. We're not going to bite your head off. I think it's actually entertaining to see the different perspectives that we get from our audience members, and I'm super excited to hear what you all got to say today.
I always like the messages afterwards, James.
Say it again.
I said I always like the messages afterwards,
after the show.
Yeah. Somebody else send a text message or an email or something, so.
Indeed. So, man, how did you enjoy your 4th? Did you enjoy your weekend? How was everything for you, brother?
Yeah, it was good, man. I could tell you probably for most of us here, yesterday was a madhouse. Working Monday, taking Tuesday off for the 4th, and then getting back into the swing of things. I was mentally exhausted yesterday.
I understand. Unfortunately, I worked. I wasn't involved with the shenanigans like the rest of you Americans. I was actually out making deals happen. So
he always throws that in, makes us all feel bad, like we should be working 7 days, 8 days a week. 600.
If Walmart and Kroger's isn't closed, why should I be? That's my philosophy.
Well, James, I will tell you that fireworks are hell of expensive.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
I remember when the kids were younger, I could go spend $250, man, and I was like a king. It was like you were at a 4th of July extravaganza.
Yeah.
$250 doesn't get you very far right now, my friend.
No, it gets you some bottle rockets, some those little poppers you throw at people's feet, a couple little trinkets that pop around for about 10 seconds before it just turns into dust. But it doesn't get you that big explosiveness like you said you used to get. I remember when I was coming up 4th of July, we would go to Walmart and get the $19 box that had all of the stuff in it. And it was a lot in there for $19, and your parents didn't even want to spend that at the time. But now that $19 box is $59.99.
Yeah,
it's like inflation is really hard.
It's buy one get one free, and you show up there, but that one box is $109. I'm like, I'm paying $100 for 16 shots.
16 shots, bro.
Yeah,
pop, and before you know it, it's over with. I actually had we actually in our neighborhood, I don't know who it was popping them, but man, it was a hell of a fireworks show in my neighborhood, and for a good hour, they just went strong. I know they spent their bit of $1,000. Not my cup of tea. I'm not spending $1,000 on fireworks, but I'll sit there and watch your fireworks display for free. I will indeed. So, but yeah, man, I enjoyed the 4th. We did a little barbecue. I did a little barbecue, and that's about it. But other than that, I was out, showing houses, man. Clients, they came with their 4th of July, extravaganzas on, with their their flag shirts. It was really cool. I was like, man, I'm missing out. I should have wore my flag shirt.
I have a hat. I was disappointed we didn't do a show on Monday because I had my 4th of July hat.
Oh man, I apologize, man. I just had to get back to the dentist, brother. And I knew I definitely wanted to do a show Monday because I definitely wanted to do a show on patriotism and just being a patriot of your society, your country, and what did that mean. But overall, yeah, save it for next year, I guess.
Nah, it's all good, man. It's all good.
Overall, we definitely got a good show for everybody today. Again, we're talking about America finally hitting back. Now, a lot of you all may not understand exactly what that means, but we're going to have a conversation today that would, shine some light on that topic a little bit. Our American society is headed in a new direction, with some high risk attached to it. So honestly, let's talk about our future of our nation and the changes that are occurring. So if this is something that you're interested in talking about and you're excited to talk about, then you're in the right place. Before we get started, if you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell if you haven't already. Yes, to put us in the algorithm so we can be seen and we can actually reach more people who are who would be entertained by this conversation or want to be involved in more of these conversations. Overall, if you're on Facebook, make sure you like and share on Facebook, and make sure you also tag someone that could benefit from this conversation that we're going to be having today. To get this conversation started, let's just jump right into some numbers real quick, some market numbers. When it comes to real estate, of course, this is, our biggest money maker. So one thing about real estate, it definitely gives us some insight on where we are in our society, where we're headed. So with that being said, the housing market has a lot to say. Right now, the numbers don't lie. There has been a drastic drop in the amount of number of homes that's been on the market in the last few years. In 2019, we had somewhere around 900,000 homes on the market during this time. Right now, we're currently sitting at about 450,000, which is a huge decline. But if we go back and talk about the numbers during COVID or during the pandemic, I hate saying that word over here. We're gonna get banned for saying the damn word. During the pandemic, we had a price. We had a huge decrease in homes on the market, roughly about 600%, which means we only had roughly about 200,000 homes on the market during that time. Now we are up about 50%. So we're back up to about 450, which I think is a great number to be at, after the pandemic and after the interest rates hikes and everything like that. I still think this is a very competitive market to be in.
James, I wrote some things out. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm not dissatisfied with 450,000 homes on the market right now, right?
Yeah.
Interest rates have almost doubled since, 12, 16 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And our builders, they're still pulling massive amounts of permits. I mean, I just got a list from one of my carriers that in Polk County was like 22,000 or 2,200 permits. Hillsborough County was like 4,500 permits pulled. So they're still building. I mean, they're just not building as much as they were back in 2019, 20, and 21, right? I mean,
that's true. That's true. And also, with that being said, I'm glad you brought that point up as well, because people prefer new builds right now versus, a resale home, because they're getting so much more with the new build at the same price that a resale is going for. Yeah, even if they got to wait a few months to get that property. So that's definitely has a lot to do with these numbers, because we are not seeing these homes on the market, because right now days on market has risen over 120%. We went from 15 to 20 days on market before we got to the closing table. Now we're up to about 37, which is a huge increase if you look at it on a macro scale. But if you look at the micro again, then you see that a lot of these buyers are under contract, but the home isn't ready to close yet. It's not.
James, I want to speak on that thing, on the subject you talked about, with more people choosing to go with new construction over regular residential homes. Two things that I would say. If a family right now, especially in my state, I don't know how it is in Georgia, but in Florida, if a homeowner comes to me, a potential buyer is wanting to buy a house with a pool, you go to a builder, you are paying top dollar for a pool.
Yep.
So The residential homes that have a pool, that have some upgrades inside the house, those are probably 20, 25 days on the market or so if they're priced right. I just had a client go and purchase a brand new house, put on a contract with a new build, wanted a pool. It was $75,000 for a pool. I'm like, I'll get a backhoe. We'll dig it ourselves. That seems crazy, man. I'm like, holy cow. So, when it comes to the new builds, yeah, they're all nice and pretty and all of that stuff. And, you get all the warranties and all that good stuff. But I do see some of the houses here in Florida, at least, that have some of the features, whether it's a pool or a lake. Not a lot of new construction homes are being built around lakes. So some of those houses there still have some great features that people can't get with the builders. But all in all, the numbers are down a little bit, but they're not down enough to where I'm scared.
Right. And again, we're not in a situation to be scared. I mean, when it comes down to it, the people that should be scared are the people who are in the industry making money, are trying to make money in the industry, like your mortgage lender, your real estate agent, like me and you ourselves. We're the people that have to kind of be weary of these numbers because that all that states is that there's more competition, right? There's way more than 450,000 realtors. Well, let's double it. Let's say, I mean,
You know me, I'm searching right now.
because you need a selling agent and you need a buying agent, right? I mean, you need a listing agent and you need a seller's agent. So with that being said, there's about 850,000 agents that would be making money off. Let's just give it everybody one house. So right now, everybody has an opportunity of 850,000 agents have an opportunity to sell at least one house, right? So that just creates more competition in the marketplace overall. And if you're not competitive in this time and during this time, just like when it was during the pandemic, I made a lot of money during the pandemic as an agent. I mean, I'm sorry.
It
I
was
don't
an
know.
essential job.
I mean, a lot of people did. It was easy to sell homes. It's not as easy to sell homes now because of interest rates and things like that. But it was less homes to sell at that point. But I sold a lot. Me and my wife sold a lot of homes. And I know a lot of other agents who sold a lot of homes, which means a lot of agents were left out in the mud. They didn't sell much. They didn't do much because one thing, they didn't have the drive and they didn't have the knowledge. The two things you need to really be successful in this business. And yeah, you need clientele, but you need that information and need the know-how to get those clients in this type of market. And a lot of agents were just being handed opportunities and they don't know what to do these days because those opportunities aren't being handed to them. B. Walker said, but the new builds tend to be smaller. That is true. New builds are smaller. People aren't building 5,000 square foot homes in subdivisions anymore because, again, the price of material doesn't justify it. You can find those subdivisions, but those homes are also going to run you 700, 800,000. Now we're just focused
at 6.7 for 15-year loan and almost 7% for a 30-year.
Right. So I mean, it's possible, but at the end of it all, it's like, is it worth it, or is those homes worth building? Is it worth really getting embedded those size homes, especially if it's just you and your wife and you don't even have kids yet, or all your kids have moved out of the home and you're just empty nester? Yeah, there are more empty nesters now, or people who have one child, because people have scaled back so far from putting themselves in economical crisis with having more kids that they're tending to either wait to have kids or not have kids at all, which means they're building smaller homes because they're smaller families in America now. We're headed towards the China structure, one child per family.
Oh, you stop that, man. That ain't gonna happen, man. Don't be scared, people. Don't be scared, people. 2 days after America, you know what I'm saying? Come on, man.
Dolores said it seems like the new buildings they're making are cheap, not built for quality, but for fast turnovers. I totally agree with you.
Firsthand.
I currently right now have a contract on a new construction that was built by a couple of realtors who were pretty much building their first house, and they built it themselves. They didn't use contractors. They subcontracted things out, but they didn't use contractors themselves. But the house is the sturdiest house I've been in a new build in a long time. I
Really?
walked in this house and it feels like it's not going anywhere. You know, it feels like you're walking into one of those homes from the 1970s and 60s when they actually use real wood. You know, like beautiful house, really, really nicely built. And I'm super happy that we found this house for our client. But overall, it didn't go for VA because they weren't VA builders. It's barely made past FHA because they're not really licensed builders. But I wish we were building more structures like that when it came to our new construction. But unfortunately, today is, like you said, Dolores, it's about turnover, not actual quality at this point. But people are buying them.
You kind of feed on that there with Dolores and stuff, James, about these builders and stuff. You know, it's funny when I hear certain people, or I know of clients that live in certain areas and they went to a builder, I'll be like, oh, well, how's that going? I had a client 2 years ago. He wanted to buy in a particular neighborhood, but the CDDs there are just out of this world. And it took the payment up like $200, $300 a month. And it just wasn't working for the DTI, right? So I said, look, the neighborhood I live in has a very small HOA. It keeps people from parking their cars in the driveways or in the grass and stuff like that, and or in the streets. And so he bought over here. Beautiful home, big corner lot, got it probably, I think we were $25,000 under appraised value. He wanted to put a pool in. So 6 months later, he basically refinances the house, puts a pool in for 50 grand. He bought the house for 300. The house is now valued at like $515,000, right? And he talks about he ran into a couple that purchased in the neighborhood that went with the builder, 2-story house, and the floor has already flooded. The bottom floor. Yes.
That is crazy. That's why, sometimes a new construction isn't the way to go. But I love new construction because it does give you that opportunity to kind of customize some things the way you want it to make it kind of feel like your own. But if you have to vet your builders at this point, like people are just putting up structures and not really having the manpower or the experience to do it. But yeah, even with that being said, when we're talking now, since we're talking about price increases, most people are still overpricing their homes. We have now seen price drops across the board about 300%. It's crazy how many homeowners have to drop their price 25, 30 days after listing it because the market is just not having any comparables. There's not enough homes to have comparables, and we're just going off of what we think the house could get versus actually structuring it to underprice the market. We should be underpricing the market right now to get more bids on the property, but we're still overpricing the market because of what we think the houses can go for. So
that's going to be more scary. That's scary, man. Like that just amazes me because we all saw, whether you were selling a house or buying a house or buying an investment or selling an investment property, when it was crazy and everybody was talking about, man, I got 10 offers, I got 20 offers, I got an offer on my house before it even hit the market. People just stop and buy me like it's crazy. And people can see that since that time, the interest rates have gone up. And you're absolutely right. Like, we still want to get an extra $15,000, $20,000, or $30,000. Just price the house right, because we still have more buyers out there than we do inventory. So if you list it for $250,000, it's likely, if you got a good realtor, you got a good setup, you got things moving in the right direction, you're probably going to get $260,000, $265,000, depending on what's going on. It's still $10,000 or $15,000 over asking price. We don't see it. People just they want to put it on the market for $265,000 and then hopefully somebody gives them $280,000, and that's just not happening.
That's not happening.
Yeah, it's not happening.
That's not happening. All right, let's move on here, man. Let's get into some more conversation here. We have to bring up our guy Joe Blow in the building. Joe
Whoa.
Blow. What? What happened? Everything all right?
Yeah. Oh, name calling, man. Name calling.
What you name calling? I mean, come on, that's a cool name to give somebody. I knew a guy. I'm pretty sure you knew a guy they called Joe Blow at one point, right? Come on.
Yeah, it was never a good saying though, Joe.
Oh, my bad. My fault. I didn't quite know that. So Joe Blow here. Let's talk about our guy. The world is finally seeing the truth. Honestly, regardless of what name we give him, Sleepy Joe, whatever, the world is finally coming to the conclusion that this guy is not the guy. This guy is not winning another presidential campaign. It's pretty much written in the freaking sand at this point. This guy's done. He has the final nail in his coffin, not only with his son Hunter, but right now with his own, struggles as president and his current allegations against him and his administration as well. And we're going to talk about that. Joe Biden is losing his top in this presidential race, brother. How you feel about it?
It was funny because I've kind of separated for about a week or so I didn't stay on top of it. But I watched some videos, and it's definitely a sad thing, man. I'm going to stay to my grounds. I'm tired of these 70-plus-year-old presidents. Because it could happen. I mean, at some point, it happens to all of us. At some point, you wake up one morning and things are just not the same anymore, right? And it is, again, I don't want to name call anybody, but it's kind of sad watching some of these interviews in the process and how hard he is struggling. It is definitely time to not push the issue. We need somebody else in there just to have a better representation of what's going on.
Would you take Kamala right now? Would you rather for Joe to step down and Kamala Harris take his spot? Would you rather for that for the rest of this campaign?
If I'm looking for somebody that can speak clearly, have a conversation like you and I, and not feel like I have to baby step through every single conversation. It's very hard to explain, James. You know what I'm saying? Like it's sad, man. Like, I saw that with my grandfather. You know what I'm saying? As he got older, he just started dwindling down. And at some point he's like, the hell with it. I'm done. I feel like we're on the verge there. I'm like, man, you're 6 years old, 77, whatever. I don't know how old he is. Go retire, man. You've been in the business a really long time. People love you. People hate you. It's definitely time, man. I have a very tough time, and I voted for him. I have a very tough time watching him right now.
Man, sad thing to do, Daniel. But I still forgive you, brother.
No, it was better than the other one because I do not like the other one, and I will hold my grounds on that. That guy's an ass.
Speaking of Joe's age, Joe Biden is not only forgetting his mind, he's also forgetting his drugs, brother. Yeah, in the White House. There is articles out there right now that basically states that this past week or earlier this week, after cocaine was discovered in the West Wing of the White House, leading to wild speculations as to who the drugs may belong to. Of course, the first thing people are going to say is what? They belong to Hunter, because Hunter is,
of course.
I mean, of course, that's the first thing.
Listen, I'm sure they have a lot more drugs in that White House than we have on our block.
So the substance with
all the shit that they have to deal with. I mean, could you deal with, 338 million Americans hating you on Monday?
Man,
you on Tuesday, Wednesday they're back to hating you. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a hard position to be in. Don't know if I needed cocaine to ease that level of stress, but
we know why Kamala's drinking alcohol, obviously. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so, but yeah, the substance was discovered by members of the Uniform Division of the Secret Service conducting a routine rounds through the building. Anthony Gilalimi, a spokesperson for the Secret Service, told the Newsweek, a source familiar with the investigation, that the substance was discovered inside a work area of the West Wing. In audio footage logged on a site called openmhz.com, a firefighter with the DC Department's hazardous material team can be heard calling in the results of a test, confirming that the initial results found it was cocaine. The discovery prompted a brief evacuation of the building before the DC Fire Department quickly determined the substance did not present a harmful threat to anybody but the nose of the person who's using it. So President Joe Biden was not in the White House.
are names named in this and like who's leaking this stuff? Because I really have a tough time reading articles that don't have a name. Anonymous speaker. I mean, it is like we could come up with some type of crazy stuff. You know, Joe Biden was at my house yesterday, 4th of July. We were drinking beer, we were smoking pot. You know, we were just having a good old time. And Trump was around the corner in an RV. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on. You know, he was grabbing things over there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's ridiculous.
And honestly, I do get where you're coming from, because I had this conversation as well, you know, that this could be something that was planted. Now, I don't get me wrong. It's not that I hate Joe Biden. I have no hate for the guy. I just don't think he's the right person for the job, period, point blank. And I'm not saying it's his directly. You know, maybe it is his drugs. Maybe they say it's in the area that he frequents occasionally, often. Not occasionally, but pretty often. Like, this is one of his work areas, and Hunter Biden was in the White House doing that time. So they're putting some things together to saying maybe his son brought him the drugs because he needed them. I don't freaking know. All I know is this could be a setup by the Republicans. This could be, you know, a ploy by a staffer who wants Joe Biden gone and wants some I don't know. It could be so many negative things. Overall, I'm just looking at this situation that it's hilarious, and I'm pretty sure he's not the first president to have drugs found in the White House. I'm pretty sure they've had some wild parties, and I even think I seen an article about all the presidents that have had drugs. We know President Clinton had drugs in there. I mean, he was smoking but not inhaling the marijuana at the time.
Most of the drugs, and that drug is legal now, so it's fine, man. You know what I'm saying? Like you know, man. It's just funny, James. Right? People love listening to these things, but 50 episodes from now, we're going to be talking about something of another president in office. Something else is going on. Like the other parties are going to jump and start saying this was recently found. This is going on. This document's out there. Blah blah blah. It's crazy, man, that this is where we are nowadays, and there's no happy middle anymore. Like, you know, I've heard that growing up as a kid. There's a happy medium. You know what I'm saying? It's gone. It is. Oh yeah. It's a thing of the past. We'll never ever get there ever again. That's sad that we're going to continue to have these conversations like this back and forth, whether it's a Democrat or Republican in office, or, you know, your local seat.
Yeah, I totally agree. B. Walker said, first of all, Kamala's an alcoholic and can't string a coherent sentence. You might as well keep Joe Biden. White House became the Trap House 2023. And George Hooks, it's not only the White House, it's a cocaine house too. Okay, the White House. Cocaina, they call it. Some smiley faces there. There is a Twitter handle called Hunter Biden Cocaine Bag. Ask where he was found this time. Wow. And I'm pretty sure it responds back because it's handled by a bot, AI bot, which is funny within itself. Listen, everybody. This situation is funny, it's unique, but I think there's really more pressing issues happening right now. And I think, again, these type of stories are funny, but I think that sometimes we get caught up too much on these minute stories like Joe Biden's cocaine bag or Hunter's Biden cocaine bag. Overall,
James, they could be planting it themselves.
That's what I'm saying. This could be plants to keep our focus off for bigger, you know, situations. And that bigger situation, if we go into it a little bit, Joe Biden just recently was pretty much charged, or they're now passing the torch about his First Amendment abuse. The judicial courts waved the red flag on Joe Biden deep state allegations and abuse of the First Amendment rights to censor political candidates and supporters on social media. Now, they literally just passed this through the courts, and Joe could be facing charges when it comes to this tyranny of suppressing voices on our social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. They have evidence that Joe Biden and his administration paid private companies like Twitter to suppress and ban people from saying certain things on social media, which is a direct violation of our First Amendment rights to speak freely and to be able to say the things we need to say. So this could be big, man. This could be huge, but no one is really talking about that. That's my thing. People are talking about this cocaine bag and not this fact that Joe Biden has suppressed so many voices on social media during his 3 years of 4 years. Well,
I don't
3
believe
years.
any social media person except for Elon Musk. Has Elon Musk come out and said that, that Twitter got paid X amount of dollars to hush?
Well,
I don't think Elon Musk would take that money. I think Elon Musk would be like, yeah, this is going to be great news, and I'm going to have 44 million likes or whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, he was the first one who was to expose the deep state connections with Twitter and the Democratic Party suppressing voices. Again, they banned Trump off of Twitter because of the stuff he was saying. So it's proof that it happened. We all see that it happened. We all seen people get banned during that time. Now we are now facing the truth of what really went on, and now this is why we're saying America is finally hitting back, taking back our voices, taking back our opportunity to be open, free speech, free speech, First Amendment, to be able to say what the hell we need to say to get whatever we need to get off our chest without harming anybody. So I think that that's a great point to go after Biden for suppressing, the American voice on social media platforms, because even though these are private companies, or they use private companies to do this, they still directly, approach these companies to have them do it, which is a violation through that. So,
James, but it happens all the time. I mean, it's just not. I know we're beating up on Joe Blow, right? And we're continuing to talk about him, and we're going to jump into something else about Joe that I want to bring up because I know that you have a part in it. But like YouTube, I mean, you can't even say things on YouTube. There's certain things that you say they ban you for what, 10 days, 14 days, whatever it is,
or permanently, depending on
or permanently, stuff like that. I mean, look at Tucker Carlson, right? I mean, he was banned from TV, from Fox News, I mean, like literally, boom, see ya, get out of here. So it's a little crazy that we can't say what we want anymore, but that's simply because we're becoming very soft, my friend. We're becoming very, very soft. You look at somebody the wrong way, you say something, you don't like somebody's shirt or shoes or whatever it may be, their haircut, they are 100% offended by it, and they're like, oh, that's it, we're done. And it's happening all the time. It's scary, man.
Because this is a snowflake society, man. The snowflake society has created people to be harmed in so many ways, and we could talk about that because there was another topic. Just real quick, there was another topic. I forget who it was. I think it was Gilbert Arenas, former basketball player for the Washington Wizards. He was recently on a podcast, and he was stating that it's pretty crazy how you can, even if I was to say LGBT. And I forget the other letters, I am being insensitive to the community because I forgot the IA or IAZP, whatever the hell the letters are. I'm being insensitive, so I deserve to be banned because I didn't fully express the whole alphabet community when it comes to that structure. So
how long did it take you to remember all the pronouns and everything that come with it?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. If you hate me for not remembering what pronoun you want to be called when there's a billion freaking pronouns to go by, if I want to go by them that, then I got to remember that. I'm not calling you them that. No, it's not happening. Not on my account. I have the right to refuse that, and I do refuse that. I might call you a person, or if you want to be a person, I might call you a human being. If you want to be called that, then I don't give a damn what you want to be called. That's as far as I'm going with my pronouns.
No, absolutely, James. And I say, right, like, like when I've had conversations or something like that, you say things, you're like, oh, that's not what I'm supposed to say. That's how, but who's genuine and who's just being an ass, right? So, it's tough though, because we grew up in a society, we grew up with a culture that really wasn't a part of our culture. Like we were between our grandparents, our parents, and us, it wasn't until probably our kids that this really all started pushing forward and having to make changes and all that stuff. And again, yes, that's the way that it is now. That's the way that we should say it. But you can't hate people having a tough time understanding that because they've got tons of years, tons of time invested in certain cultures. It takes time, you know. Having conversations with my daughter, you know, going back and forth. I'm like, oh man, I messed that up, you know. But there's a difference, right? She understands that I'm not like belittling it. I'm not throwing it under the bus. Whereas you can hear people that really just are really ugly about it and all of that stuff. And, you know, again, at the end of the day, I think you and I think our fans, I think our family, I think everybody else, like, I want everybody to smile. I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to be, you know, productive and moving forward and get a little bit of the hate out of their system.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I mean, and we can go deeper into this conversation. We can talk about that these movements started with the women's rights movement, not trying to take away the right of women, but these movements began when we started allowing in American society everybody to leech off of a movement that was started off of racism. You know, these movements were started off the fact that black people couldn't vote. Then it went to white women couldn't vote. And then it went to nobody could vote. Then that turned into, well, since we can't vote, what else can't we do? Oh, everybody's just jumping this pool of of let's figure out what else we can convert over to our beliefs, you know, and then it becomes this subgroup and this subgroup, you know, and it's always going to be created in that way because no one is taking real rights. No one's taking the fundamentals of our rights seriously. Everybody trying to trying to pseudo amend every, I'm sorry, what is called amendment or what is it called? Damn it. Our declaration. You know, they trying to amend everything that has to do with America to make it suitable for their own personal belief system. So that's the thing about all of this that I'm sick of, that we are now here. But let's move on further.
James, I think most Americans are just upset with it, right? Most Americans are upset with it. They don't want to change. Then there are others that, again, I'm on that side. I'm like, I don't care, man. Just don't harm me. Don't harm my family. Don't hurt my friends, and let's move on. Like, you know, I don't care who you marry. I don't care what color you are. You know, as long as you're a good person, you're genuine, and you know, life is good, right? You know, it's the ones that are breaking in and robbing or throwing things in your face or stealing and cheating that the ones that I don't want to associate with.
I totally agree. All right. With that being said, let's get to the rest of this Joe Biden situation. The judicial court strike down the Biden administration student debt loan forgiveness.
I love it. I'm glad that you're talking about this because I know that you went to school and you have some, right?
I have too damn much, man, and I honestly have been one of the worst student loan debt payer backers that you can probably even I wholeheartedly own that. I do not pay back my student loans. I don't make enough money to. I pay them maybe $20 a month. That's all I can afford to pay them. I'm just saying. I'm a poor black man in America. I can only afford to pay them $20 a month. That's what I pay. The good thing about this, though, is that recently, I don't know, man, maybe this is a Trojan as well. They're telling us that they're not doing student loan forgiveness, but I literally just had over $8,000 worth of student loan removed from my credit.
Well, that's because, James, they agreed to it. They were proactive. They're like, oh God, we gotta backtrack.
But, you know, so I mean, I literally woke up with $8,000 off my student debt gone. I'm like, well, where the hell did it go? Because I just got word that it was, you know, the judicial system didn't pass this law, but you know, I wake up with $8,000 of it gone.
Are you with it or are you against it, James?
Well, I'm against it. Again, I didn't ask for it. I didn't sign up for it. So if it's gone because they passed some secret law, I mean, I'm not going to fight it. It's $8,000 off my credit. So I'm cool with it. Overall, I didn't want it. This is the reason why I don't want it. All right. And let me break this down real quick. I do think that there should be some student loan forgiveness programs that is equal to the amount of work you put in or amount of ability you have applied to it. So instead of paying $20,000 up front or taking $20,000 off my loan or 8,000, maybe I should, okay, if I file my taxes and I pay into my taxes, okay, you forgive 1,500 a year, 2,000 a year, something like that. And as long as I make proper payments on that loan for a duration of time, you then erase maybe $1,000 a year. But it should be something I'm doing to create this decrease and not just be handed to me. Because what they did was they struck down this one. But this one was based off of the HEROES Act. The HEROES Act do not support this type of judicial process where the executive order can just move this forward. But there's another student aid act that they're trying to press now that the government could take up to 3 years to press through. But it creates more debt for us. That means the government pays this debt, but they get a loan to pay this debt off for us. But what does that do for them? They're going to get that loan at a higher interest rate. If they get that loan at a higher interest rate, that means I have to get loans at higher interest rates, because why would they give me cheaper loans at cheaper rates when the government is doing them at 7% and 8%? So that means any loan I go out and get, I have to then also be affected. Not only am I affected, people who are paying their taxes are going to be affected, which means higher tax rates, higher tax, deductions, things of that, notion where I'm not willing to go through. I don't want to put my American people through it just because I decided to go to school and get a bum ass degree, that I'm not using. Like, why should you have to suffer, Daniel, to pay my student loan debt when I'm the one who created it?
I will tell you, I think James, ladies and gentlemen, just solved it, right? I definitely like that structure. It's definitely different, right? It holds people accountable, saying, hey, we're going to help you, but we're not going to just relieve you from the stress, because at the end of the day, you went to school, whether it was a shitty degree or a good degree, you still have the debt. You accept it. You signed the paperwork. So, hey, make your payments, do all of that stuff. At the end of the year, you get a $1,500 credit, whatever it is. I love that idea.
Yeah.
James, here was my take on it, right? If we were to eliminate $10,000 to $20,000 in debt, where it's like, 40 billion, 40 million? I don't know what.
400 billion.
Yeah, 400 billion, right? So if we were going to eliminate 40 billion of that debt, basically 10, 20, depending on the person, and they were on time, they were current, right? They've been making their payments. Maybe there's a process where it's like, hey, you've been paying on this for 5 years. You haven't missed a payment. You qualify for this. It's money back into the economy, right? You see these men and women in our government that get huge grants for their education and haven't paid it back. There's multiple ones, Democrats and Republicans. It's not just Republicans. This week, I sent you 3 Republicans when we were talking about this in our chat, right? But there's Democrats that have done it as well. It's just not the Republicans. Why is it okay for those men and women? Because they're in higher authority. When my daughter at 20 years old and her boyfriend at 22 years old can't even go pay a house, and they make good money. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So I looked at it as like, hey, if these people are consistent, they're paying their bills, they've not missed a payment in 5 or 6 years. Okay, I totally agree with 10K or 20 to 20K if it's a doctor, or 10,000 if it's like a business degree, whatever it is. I don't know how they figure that stuff out. But it's interesting to hear your point, because I didn't look at it that way. I don't have any student debt, right? You know what I'm saying? So I was excited to have this conversation about that. But I do love the hey, you took the money out, you're responsible for it. You show us that you make 12 payments every year, we'll give you $1,000 or $1,500 credit to help reduce the cost. I do like that. I can live with that.
Indeed, and also, B. Walker made a statement here. She said, "Let's be honest. A lot of people enrolled to get the loans and grants and didn't intend on finishing." I totally agree. I know people. I told people, some really close friends of mine that didn't have any idea about college or how college worked. I signed up for school. I went to school to get my degree, and oh, you went to school? Yeah, man. Who paying for it? Well, they got these grants. They got these different loans process. You get this much, and you can see the light bulbs go off on their head. It's like, huh? You mean to tell me all I gotta do is go to school and do bare minimum work for 3 to 4 weeks, and they're gonna give me a $3,000 or $4,000 check? Yeah. And guess what? That's what happened. I also know that some of those people use that money to, buy drugs and use drugs to be a passive income structure.
I had a neighbor use his money to buy a house, a down payment.
Well, that makes sense. Just transfer the debt to a house, sure, but at the end of the day, now you went from one debt to two debts, like it's crazy. And you know what? Now that you mention that, I do have a client right now. I hope they're not listening, but they just told me that they couldn't buy a house until August because their student loan money didn't come until then. So she said, my school check don't come until August. I'm like,
can you keep us all updated on that? That's exactly where I want my tax dollars to go. So when it says in August, hey, I just sold the house. We know what really happened.
Well, we know what really happened, right?
We all bought a house for that person. Yes.
B. Walker said the people that did go to college didn't choose fields that are worth what they paid to get the education, and they didn't work hard in school. That is totally true. They did the bare minimum pass. I'm not saying I was a B student in college. I was on an honor list multiple times. I didn't even pay to get my degree, bro. I don't have a degree of mine hanging in here. I owed them $300, and I'm like, why? I'm not making money off of it. I'm not giving you $300 for you to deliver me my degree. So
yeah, it would though look good on that bookshelf that you have back there.
My book look better. I paid less for these books than I paid for the degree that I got, and I learned more from these books than I learned from the books they gave me in school.
James, you're telling me right now all the marketing material that you help out with all the partners, you can't print some fancy degree. Come on, we all want to see it behind you, man. We all want to see it behind you.
My wife has two. She has a business degree and a psychology degree. Those are my degrees as well, and I'm fine just looking at hers. And no, I'm not doing it. I'm sorry, but they're not getting my $300. But with that being said, the student loan debt is like she said, a Ponzi scheme. College is a Ponzi scheme, and I do not personally promote anybody going to college. As like you said, if you're not going to be a doctor, a lawyer, or something in high level tech and science, stay away from college. If you're trying to go get something that you can do with the trade, go to trade school, spend $750 learning a new trade, learning some skills. That is way more beneficial in this real life algorithm that we're living in versus going to college. And again, if you hate me because I'm telling your kids not to go to college, I'm not saying don't go to college. I'm saying don't go to college for that BS that people tell us. Don't go get a damn liberal art degree. Don't go get a general studies degree because you learn how to do math and science and English and social studies. Man, stay away from those degrees. That don't get you any jobs out here.
James, a good friend of mine, right? Went to high school with, he's 43 years old. He's retired. I mean, he's done very well for himself. He did not graduate high school. He dropped out our senior year and went to work at a grocery store and did phenomenal, right? And his kid is graduated. And about 6 months ago, we were sitting there talking, and I was like, where's your child going to go? And one of these big Florida universities and all of that stuff. And he was like, I told her, he's like, if you're going to become a teacher, or you're going to be like a paramedic or something like that, you're not going to one of these big universities. You're going to go to one of these community colleges here. If you want to be a lawyer, you want to be a doctor, then I'll pay the price for the Florida college, right? He's like, I'm not going to pay $40,000 for you to go, or $80,000 to go to the University of Florida, Florida State, and be a teacher.
Right.
And right, like, I mean, I sat there and I was like, well, that's kind of crappy to say, but I'm like, Well, this average salary for a teacher in Florida, I think, is like $60,000. Like,
And you're gonna go into $130,000 worth of debt to
yeah,
no, not happening. Not
yep.
happening. And now that we're speaking about colleges, I'm glad you brought that up. Our next conversation before we get up out of here is very important as well, because this is another thing that just got passed down by the Supreme Court, which is affirmative actions have been canceled. And I got to ask you the question, bro. Do you think we need affirmative actions?
What was this based on, James?
You said what is it based on?
Yeah, like what came about with this? Like, why did the Supreme Court vote on this? Like, what, you know what I'm saying?
So let me break this down for you then, since you're asking that question. In 1990, a senator named Jesse Ham won the state of North Carolina when he created an ad around a affirmative action scenario when he showed a white hand reading a decline letter from a job that stated that a person of color was more deserved the job over a more qualified white man in America after losing the job to an African American or someone of POC. This is what affirmative action is when we have a quota to meet and hire
Like
people.
the NFL system.
Say it again.
It's like the NFL system and the hiring system.
Pretty much. And I'm gonna bring that notion up as well. So with that being said, affirmative action is based on meeting a quota. The question is, do I want to be a part of affirmative action? I'm a black man, quote unquote. I have to quote unquote that because I keep telling people all the time. People hate me, but probably because I say this shit. But overall, I am not a black
you,
person.
James. I don't
I'm not. I'm sorry. If you look at me as a quote unquote black male in America, then I mean, honestly, I just think you're being racist. I mean, as if I was to look at somebody else as something other than what they are, an American, oh, you know, an Asian or somebody of their nationality. You know, I am of this country. I don't want to be seen as anything else, and that's just me. But legal discrimination or reverse racism is what affirmative action is. So for them to pretty much hire me at a job because they need to meet a quota of hands saying we got 5 black people work here, makes me feel like I'm not here because of my merit. And that's the thing that Clarence Thomas have been dealing with his whole life. And you're familiar with Clarence Thomas, I'm sure,
Yeah.
right?
James, I want to just tell you, you're absolutely right. I don't agree with it, right? We had this conversation about 3 weeks ago in the office. it did get a little heated, right? Because we should be hiring, based on experience, quality, and proven results. Right? Like that's what we should be doing. But yeah, it's no, I don't agree with it. I mean, the best candidate should get the job. And again, I think somebody just said like a doctor operating on us or something like that in the chat, right? Like I want the best surgeon, I want the best knee doctor, I want the best shoulder doctor. I don't care who it is. I just want to make sure that they're the best, right?
Qualified,
experienced,
you know. So that's just what it comes down to. And again, speaking about Clarence Thomas has been in he went to Harvard back in the 70s. But he always felt like because he got declined from multiple law firms. Like Clarence Thomas is a lawyer. He got declined from multiple law firms at the time, but he went to Harvard. But while he was at Harvard, he always felt like people at Harvard looked at him as the token black guy who they gave this opportunity to because they needed to fill a quota. Now, is Clarence Thomas qualified to be at Harvard? He don't know, but he never even used his Harvard degree as a token to say, I went to Harvard. He literally put a $15 cigar sticker on the back of it because that's what he felt it was worth. It was worth nothing. Clarence Thomas went on to become the head of the EOCC during the Reagan administration. During the Reagan administration, Reagan was looking for someone that was a conservative that understood affirmative action, and Clarence Thomas was that person. As a black man who went to Harvard, quote unquote, he knew that Clarence Thomas didn't feel that he got the same treatment because he was a black man who was put in a position, right? So he let Clarence Thomas head the EOCC, the equality shit. Somebody put the EOCC in there. Equal right employment things. I forgot the name of it real fast. What does the EOC stand for?
It's EEOC.
Yeah.
Yeah, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Yes, that. He let Clarence Thomas lead that for over 15, 20 years. They have been fighting this fight for almost 15, 20 years, brother. And this is what I'm saying. Once Clarence Thomas got in there, him and Reagan started pretty much blocking legislation and also lawsuits against people bringing these claims to the forefront. And schools like North Carolina, schools like Harvard have now been stripped of that reverse racism and using that quota to fill the seats of these schools by people who are not qualified, just to say they have these people in their schools. Now there's no longer an opportunity for people that are color POCs to fill these seats and push people out who are qualified to be actually in these seats and get the education. That's what I love about it, because we have to realize, right? If this was even across the board, if affirmative action is even across the board, this is really an attack on quote unquote, again, white people. This is a attack on them because they're saying that, okay, let's put it like this. And shout out to Candace Owens, because Candace Owens she's one of my faves. Candace Owens has always said the right things, and I think she gets so much flack because she's quote unquote a black person that's a conservative who speaks in a way that most people in America can't understand. But she stated this. She said, think about it this way. You think about LeBron James, right? Not being chosen to play for the Lakers, and they choose Ed Sherman, a singer, to be in his position to play that basketball. When we just imagine that they take away LeBron James in the NBA and put Ed Sherman there, that is what affirmative action is.
I love that example. Yeah, it's really extreme, but it gets the point.
It's to the freaking point. Taking away someone who's qualified to be in a position to just say, well, we need to fill a quota and add a white guy to the team. You know what, LeBron? You're gone. Ed Sherman, you're up. That's the truth about it. And it's happened across the board. I don't want to ever be in a position that someone said, well, you know, you're only here because you're black, right?
Oh, wow.
You know, you're only here because you're an Asian, and we know what Asians are. Like, what kind of sense does that make? That's what Asians go through every time they're at a prestigious college. They have to be seen as the token Asian or the token black or the token POC. I totally hate that damn POC, person of color. What the hell is a person of color? You know? So yeah, this is crazy, man. This is horrible that we're living in this society. But I mean, I may be wrong. Maybe you think different. I don't know.
Nope. I agree with you, man. It's a sad situation. And, you should be rewarded based on your hard work and the way that you present yourself, not any other way.
It's ridiculous, man, that we're here. But now there's no more. There's no more. People are free to discriminate as they choose. We are free. This is why I'm saying America.
And you got to be careful, because otherwise you get in trouble. You know, you just say one bad word. You know, I was at a networking group a couple days ago, and I was like, "Whoa, oh God, I hope that comment doesn't come back to kick you in the ass." You know, but we'll see.
It's going to happen, bro. We are now back to where, you know, even businesses are using this, because now businesses have the right to choose who they serve. Like, I don't want to serve you, which is an American right. I think it's okay that people say, I don't want you in my bar. I don't want you in my store. It's my right to serve who I want to serve. Like, it makes no sense that, okay, we can talk bad about Christians. People can talk bad about Christians. And then the Christians can't say anything about the alphabet community, because that is wrong. But you have the right to sit here and say how them believing in Jesus is wrong and how Jesus is this and that. Like, make it make sense, people. Make it make sense. You can't.
Yeah, if it's good for you, then it's good for them, right? It's just. Oh no, I don't want to get into any Christianity and all that crazy stuff because you're absolutely right. If you don't believe in what they believe in, and that's any religion, you know what? Then it's a bad religion to believe in. You shouldn't believe in it. Like it's just another situation, another topic, another day.
Another day. And with that being said, we got to get up out of here. But before we go, do your research on Clarence Thomas. Do your research on Jesse Ham. Do your research on affirmative action. Real quick before we get out of here, we got a couple comments. Malice Navis, I'm still a young guy, but the amount of double standards people have today is crazy. I totally agree with you.
Totally agree. 100%.
People are living two different lives and they can't look in the mirror and tell which side of the fence or which side of the mirror they're actually on. That's the part. That's the part of the world that I can't get. But with that being said, yes, everybody have a great one. Thank you for tuning in. This is and was the Closing Table, episode number 49. America finally hits back, and I enjoyed the conversation. Until next time, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, and notification bell. Make sure you share this with somebody that can benefit from it. And we catch you on the flip side.
See you Monday at the office. Have a good week.